Bartell out here in Tahoe today.
Hope to see you on the back road.
The future and beyond!
You've heard of the term hell on earth?
That's a really deep hole!
Ah, my butt! Hey, John Bartell here. You know when you're on that long road trip, you just gotta pull over to stretch your legs, take a little rest? Well, you could do it at a rest stop or maybe a gas station, but I suggest that you try one of California's many roadside attractions. Over the next half hour, I'm gonna take you to some of my favorite roadside attractions. Now, quick note to the stories you're about to watch here. None of them will have any masks or social distancing because they were all shot before the pandemic. All right, let's head to our first pit stop. It's over in Riverside County, right off I-10.
The Cabazon dinosaurs. From Interstate 10 in Riverside County, the two concrete beasts dominate the skyline. But if you pull off the freeway, you'll find a whole park of Jurassic creatures.
How many kids run out of here screaming?
So many, too many to count.
Denny and Mr. Rex, as they're known, are obviously the main attraction, but below their feet is an ever-expanding display of smaller dinosaurs.
On our sign it says over 50. I believe that we've gotten a few more since then, so it's around.
They've multiplied.
Yes.
Life will find a way.
Exactly.
If anyone loves Jurassic Park references more than I do, it's tour guide Haley LeMaster.
Lots of people come up singing the song. I'll sing along with them.
For copyright reasons, we can't play you the real Jurassic Park song, but we can show you what it's like inside these dinosaurs.
How tall is this?
50 feet, 3 stories high.
The Cabazon dinosaurs are the brainchild of Claude Bell, a former amusement park statue designer with a lifelong dream of building something massive.
We're entering the throat.
Claude started the construction on Denny in the 1960s, and it took him 11 years to complete.
What is this thing made of?
Concrete and rebar from the freeway. They were very resourceful.
To cut costs, Mr. Bell used salvage material from the nearby construction of Interstate 10. But all said and done, the 150-foot-long dino cost him $300,000.
The world's biggest dinosaurs, that ain't no lie.
Well, if you like seeing the world's biggest dinosaurs, you may want to see the world's biggest artichoke. Next stop takes us to the fertile fields of Castroville, right off Highway 1 in Monterey County. You don't get to call yourself the artichoke center of the world for nothing. Castroville produces 3/4 of California's artichokes. They're home to the world's largest artichoke. At one time, Marilyn Monroe was crowned Castroville's artichoke queen. And now, the artichoke is the main attraction in Evan Oaks' agro-tourism business.
As far as I know, I'm still the only ag tour company in all of California that offers a daily tour.
If you don't know, agro-tourism is essentially a tour bus ride that showcases farming.
So behind us here, this is Monterey County's cash crop.
Oh yeah, I mean artichokes is unique. It's actually our official county vegetable. And then it has now become the state vegetable of California.
He's not lying. In 2013, the then Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom proclaimed the artichoke as the state vegetable.
The artichoke, is it a vegetable or is it a flower?
It's both.
The flower versus vegetable question is a little complicated. According to artichoke farmer Sean Pizzini, it all depends on when you eat it and what part you eat.
Because artichokes are actually flowers. So if left unpicked, this is gonna keep on opening and opening like a flower would, and it'll eventually bloom.
Sean says artichokes are really only edible before they bloom, and the underdeveloped blossom, or the choke, is considered a vegetable. From edible flowers to luscious ferns, this next pit stop takes us to the rainforest off Highway 101 in Humboldt County. Welcome to Fern Canyon, a natural wonder that's found nowhere else in the world.
This is like a moss sponge kind of back here.
You betcha, the entire wall is alive.
Justin Legge is an educational tour guide with Redwood Adventures, and if you can't tell, he's super passionate about the park and Fern Canyon.
Biologically, though, these ferns in the canyon go back hundreds of millions of years.
At least a dozen different fern species cling to the wall of the canyon, feeding off decaying matter from the forest to create a one-of-a-kind vertical wetland.
Redwood National and State Parks and places like Fern Canyon always force us to remember that us humans are just a part of this universe.
Fern Canyon is a picturesque place. It's also a protected place worth visiting and sharing with others.
Unfortunately, the Instagram pictures just never do justice.
Continue down Highway 101 and you'll find yourself in a town that looks an awful lot like Denmark. This Santa Barbara pit stop was built by Danish people for Danish people, but they'll welcome curious travelers of all kinds. You'll find yourself in the middle of a place that looks an awful lot like Denmark. Here in Solvang, everything has a Danish feel to it. The buildings look Danish, the food tastes Danish, even the people dress like Danes. And the best way to see it all is to catch a ride on the Solvang Moke experience.
What's a moke?
It's a little electric car.
A Moke is actually a British car, not a Danish one, but whatever. My man Alejandro Solario kindly agreed to take me on a little tour of town. But first, we had to pick up Esther Bates, director of the Elverhøj Museum.
Why is Solvang Solvang? It's actually a Danish community that was founded by Danes for Danes.
Back in 1911, some adventurous Danish Americans crossed the plains of Iowa to establish a settlement of their own. They landed on 9,000 acres in current-day Santa Barbara County with one goal in mind: preserve Danish culture.
This is a replica of the round tower that is in Copenhagen.
Solvang really pumped up its Danish charm after it was featured in a 1940s issue of Saturday Evening Post. The town started building Danish churches, bakeries, hotels, even enough windmills to attract real Danish tourists.
It's kind of almost a little bit of a history snapshot for them because, of course, Denmark doesn't look like this today.
The Danish traditions are most notable in September, when the whole town puts on their clogs for the annual Danish Days, 72-hour celebration of everything Danish. Then in October, the clogs come off for the Grape Stomping Festival. But no matter what time of year it is, the windmills always make for a great selfie.
Photo perfect spot in Solvang.
Wooden roads and desert towers, more of my favorite California pit stops coming up.
If you thought potholes were rough on your car's suspension, think again. This next pit stop, right off Interstate 8 in Imperial County, you'll find a road made of wood planks. Well, you're gonna need to travel to the southeasternmost corner of the state to see this historic landmark. Wood Plank Road is 45 miles outside of El Centro, in the middle of the Imperial Sand Dunes Recreation Area.
It's exactly what it is. It's a wood road.
It's not much to look at, but these chunks of wood were part of an early highway system that allowed drivers to cross the Imperial Sand Dunes.
This is the original plank road. This was completed back in 1915.
When Wood Plank Road was in use, it was the fastest way to get over the sand dunes and drive to Yuma, Arizona.
The only other method of getting over to Yuma and to Phoenix area was to head 40 miles north.
Wood Plank Road is only about 6.5 miles long and sat on top of the dunes. That way, if a sandstorm started to cover the wood, it could easily be moved. The only problem, it was super bumpy.
So you don't want to carry your coffee while you're going over
I
this.
wouldn't suggest it.
There was only enough room for one car on Wood Plank Road. And as you can imagine, traffic jams were pretty frequent.
They would literally have to lift vehicles off of the roadway so people could get through.
In the 1970s, a part of Wood Plank Road was pulled out of the sand, and today the Bureau of Land Management proudly displays it and lets modern cars drive over it. Interstate 8 is a lot smoother on the western side of Imperial County. Unfortunately, the road is really steep, but you're in luck. There's a pull-off in Jacumba Hot Springs with a towering view. Jacumba Pass. This brutal, boulder-filled stretch of what is now Interstate 8 caused countless breakdowns.
You're going from basically sea level to about 3,000 feet.
Chances are they were forced to make a stop here.
They had to let their cars cool down for a little while, and we over here would rip you off while you waited.
This is the Desert View Tower, a historic landmark built on the edge of Imperial County in the 1920s by Bert Vaughn, a wealthy land developer in San Diego.
It originally was just kind of a getaway for him and his friends out in the desert. but he was getting old towards the end and he sold it in the 50s.
The odd-looking tower has been owned and operated as a tourist trap by a few different entrepreneurs over the years. John Schultz is the current tour guide, and his uncle Ben Schultz is the owner, who bought the place back in 2002 and turned it into a yoga and camping retreat.
93 acres, 5 houses, the tower. It's an enormous property.
For a small entrance fee, you can climb the 5-story tower and inspect the oddities inside.
This was actually originally made up of old bits and pieces of the old plank road that used to come through this area.
From the top of the tower, you can see Interstate 8 to the east, and to the west, you can get a good view of Boulder Park. What is Boulder Park?
So it's a series of folk art carvings of animals and monsters that were carved into the rocks by an out-of-work engineer during the Great Depression.
If the rocks look a little odd or misshapen to you, there's a reason for that.
He was paid $1 and a jug of wine to do the work, and that's basically what I'm getting paid today.
If oddly shaped rocks or tall towers aren't enough to get you to pull off the interstate, Yahoo! Yahoo! Coyote's UFO repair shop is not part of the Desert View Tower, but it's another nearby tourist trap worth a visit if you have time.
More unusual roadside attractions coming up. After the break, I bruise my butt on a concrete slide. Then I visit one of the most unusual roadside hotels. Those stories and more coming up when Bartell's Backroads returns. Welcome back to Bartell's Backroads. We're taking a look at some of my favorite California pit stops. Quick note to the stories you're about to watch here. They were all shot before the pandemic, so you're not going to see any social distancing or use of a mask here. Let's head over to San Francisco to a concrete slide where the parking's free, but you don't want to bring your own cardboard.
Located just off Seward Street in the center of San Francisco, Seward Mini Park has one piece of playground equipment, and it requires a sturdy pair of pants. Built in 1973, these 2 steep concrete slides were designed by 14-year-old Kim Clark, who won a design contest.
What do you think about this thing? It kind of feels pretty rough to go down it.
It does. That's why you don't wear shorts.
Now, a piece of cardboard is a must if you want to protect yourself from a tear in your pants.
Very random, middle of like housing, like very strange, yeah.
Seward Mini Park is actually a testament to the power of community activism. Before the slides, the land was going to be developed. In the 1960s, local residents fought to keep this area an open space.
They didn't make any stairs on this thing? Ugh.
Residents ended up stopping the development, and as a result, the city put in the park, and new laws were made requiring a minimum amount of open space.
My butt!
Just a word of advice, the red lane of the slide is much smoother. We're gonna slide into this next California pit stop. Locals at San Luis Obispo call it the Pink Hotel, and if you pull off Highway 101 to see it, I think you'll understand why. Pink is the color of passion, at least according to Aerosmith, and this place has a whole lot of pink and passion.
This is sort of like a confetti bomb done right.
Welcome to the Madonna Inn, San Luis Obispo's most eclectic hotel and restaurant.
Sugar and spice.
The 110-room hotel attracts vacationers of all kinds. That's because each one of the rooms has a different theme.
This room has been stayed in by Katy Perry.
Now, it may look like this place was painted with a cotton candy machine, but tour guide Audrey Pierce assures me that the color scheme has a deeper meaning.
Mr. Madonna loved when Mrs. Madonna wore pink. He thought it was the best color on her, and he thought that it was a color that made people happy.
The owners of the hotel, Mr. Alex Madonna, was a contractor and entrepreneur, and Mrs. Phyllis Madonna was a beauty queen turned artist. The couple built the place back in 1958 to attract curious travelers on Highway 101.
I would definitely say that they were eccentric people.
Well, it takes an eclectic mind to build an eclectic place. The Madonna Inn was built on over 1,000-acre ranch, and many of the features were built using several large boulders weighing over 200 tons each, including this man-made waterfall.
This is our waterfall that rushes at full capacity every hour on the hour.
If you thought that waterfall was impressive, check out the men's waterfall urinal. It's a must-see if you visit the restaurant and gift shop. Colorful relics litter the property. between the fine dining, the cliffside pool, and the rugged horseback trails, there's no way I can tell you about everything at the Madonna Inn.
You are not guaranteed to see it all. That's why you have to come back.
Seriously, if you do come, check out the waterfall urinal. It's pretty crazy. Highway 101 is California's longest road, and there's no shortage of pit stops, like this one in Marin County. It's a little hard to explain, but what you're looking at is the culmination of, well, a lot of things.
So this is my English phone booth. This is a repurposed crane. My first vertical garden. The tidal controller, it works in conjunction with the moon.
Like I said, a culmination of a lot of things.
Yeah.
To understand what this place is, you really have to ask Lee Greenberg what it is.
This is the Rancho Shazam School of Art and TS.
What does the TS stand for?
Technical stuff.
The technical part of the self-proclaimed art school is questionable, but perhaps the bigger question is what kind of art this is.
It's a work in progress.
A work in progress that Lee started back in 1989 when he bought this cheap, flood-prone property.
This is my preferred method of flood control. This is fence post concrete.
Like any kind of art, it can be interpreted in different ways. And in the case for Rancho Shazam, it's received some positive and negative interpretation.
Well, I use a lot of found objects, and that has gotten me into difficulty with the county because they have consistently labeled this a junkyard.
At the entrance of Rancho Shazam, Lee proudly displays his last code violation from Marin County. He's still coming to grips with the idea that code enforcement sees his treasure as trash. Lee likes to argue that if someone names or calls something art, then it's art, like the centerpiece in his fish pond.
This is a statue, a fountain that I made. I call it Honey, Call the Plumber.
You may think this little mountain town is known for one thing, but if you take the I-5 exit into Weed, California, I think you'll find otherwise. Before the dispensaries and the souvenir shops, Weed, California looked like this.
So the town really got its start in about 1901.
Historian Larry Blankenship is one of the volunteers here at the Weed History Museum, and he knows a thing or two about Mr. Abner Weed.
He actually came out here from Maine. He had been a lumberman back there and settled here, and he also had a mill over in Truckee.
Abner's mill would eventually become the largest producer of lumber in the nation, but chances are you probably wouldn't see him swinging an axe. He's a dapper-looking guy.
Yeah, I think that's why he wanted to get into politics.
Abner Weed's real passion was politics. He was one of the first board of supervisors for Siskiyou County, then he won the Senate race for California. Unfortunately, he didn't get a chance to make much impact.
And like I said, he died before he could go any further because he died in a flu epidemic.
Abner died in 1917, but his legacy lives on in the town of Weed.
A mountain covered in paint and a shoe-shaped shoe shop when Bartell's Backroads returns. Welcome back to Bartell's Backroads. You know, not every roadside attraction is free, but this next roadside attraction claims to be the last free place. Find salvation right off Highway 111 in Slab City.
Welcome to Slab City.
Slab City is a thing that happened right after the end of World War II.
Today, this self-governed desert community is broken up into two parts, Slab City and East Jesus. The divide is a whole separate story, but before all that, back in the 1940s, this was Camp Dunlap, a Marine barracks. And after World War II, it was decommissioned and wanderers from all over started camping on the abandoned concrete slabs.
Like everything, people find what they're looking for, you know. Some think it's lollipop land.
Builder Bill, as he's known, is a longtime resident of Slab City, and he was the dear friend of the man who built Salvation Mountain, a landmark that turned Slab City into a tourist destination. Mud, straw, and an estimated 100,000 gallons of paint hold the mountain together. At one time, it was considered a toxic hazard, but that was all forgotten in 2002 when the mountain was designated as a Congressional National Folk Art Treasure.
People literally come from all over the world.
Leonard Knight never pushed his religious beliefs onto anyone. Love and forgiveness was his message. And after he died in 2013, volunteers like Builder Bill carried on his legacy.
I have seen people that really were stricken by Leonard's dedication and message, even to tears.
You've heard of the old woman who lives in the shoe, but have you heard of the cobbler who works in the Big Shoe in Bakersfield? Well, you'll find him right off Chester Avenue. Well, it's not the biggest attraction in Bakersfield, but it's pretty hard to miss. Located at the corner of Chester Avenue and 10th and Bakersfield is the Big Shoe Shoe Repair.
I'm inside of the stinky shoe.
A stinky shoe?
That's what the kids says when they come.
There's all sorts of things you can say about a big shoe, but when you walk into Felipe Torres' shop, you'll be met with a big personality.
Shoe repairman, shoe doctor, whatever they want to call me.
With an interior of just 370 square feet, the Big Shoe is actually not a big shoe shop, according to Felipe, and that leads to some storage issues. Some may say this is not very organized. What would you say? Built by Chester Deschwadden in 1947, the Big Shoe was a family business until Chester's son Donald died in 1992. The shoe sat vacant for more than a decade until Felipe, for a lack of better terms, stepped in.
Because I was without a job. And this place was for rent.
Felipe can pretty much fix any shoe he wants, except for one.
When these shoes start falling apart, who's gonna repair it? I wish it could be me because I repair shoes, but the building, not me.
Let's just hope that day never comes.
All right, well, these are just a few of the California pit stops that I've visited over the years. If you want to see more California pit stops, just head over to abc10.com/backroads and check out our interactive map. You can even make your own road trip. And if you got some more ideas on where I should go next, send me a message on my Facebook. I'm John Bartell. Hope to see you on the back road.